Hello there, DML gamer. So the final Ancient event, the Origin of Void event, is starting on Monday the 10th of October, and although I'll be going through the event after it's released, I thought that today would be a good day to go through some tips and things to be aware of in advance to make sure that you are ready for this final major Ancient event. Number 1, make sure you have a good dungeon team ready. Now, I have already made a video in the past of how to actually make a good dungeon team, but this is absolutely critical to doing well during Ancient events. You're going to need to be grinding the dungeon every 6 hours, every single day, if you want a good shot at getting the major reward Dragon Neil. Mainly, you need to make sure that your dragons are about the same level with the same rarity sigils. So if you've got one level 50 dragon and 2 level 30s in your main team, your team will suck in the dungeon, so you need to make sure that you fix this before the event begins. Number 2, make sure your breeding den is free 24 hours a day. Every single 6-hour reset of the Ancient event, you will need to be breeding the same dragon in order to get 100% of the reset's event points. You need to do this along with all of the other quests in order to make sure that you unlock and complete the 7th Ancient event task when the event is released. Usually people just breed war or tree dragons for the entire event, but this is my warning to you in advance that if you only have one breeding den, you should not expect to be able to breed anything else for the entire month apart from war or tree dragons. Number 3, make sure you're using the right food and your farms are free for the whole event. So just like breeding, you will need to collect food every 6 hours, so this means that you can't be putting in super long food timers all the time. 6-hour food or 1-hour spring cherries work if you can log in for more than once per reset. Number 4, do not skip over purple tiles on the dragon board if you want to get the dragon board event Ancient. So if you want the board dragon, you need to be hitting most of the purple and checkpoint tiles as you go through the board event. If you skip opening a purple chest by the time you hit a checkpoint tile enough times, you're going to ruin your chances of getting the board Ancient through guaranteed chests. You need to be getting a purple chest close to every single checkpoint if you want a good shot at getting this Ancient. Doing this will reduce your progress in terms of getting doubles, however, so you do need to pick which dragon you really want before you start spending event currency. Number 5, do not spend all of your dragon board event currency every single reset. Save some of it. This is really important because you need to be finishing off the 7th task in the event in order to maximize the currency that you earn. If you don't have any event currency remaining to complete these bonus 7th tasks, you're going to miss out on a lot of extra event currency. So you need to have enough saved up to be able to complete the roller double quest, which is why I normally save up to 10,000 currency, just to make sure that there is close to no chance whatsoever that I will ever miss that 7th task. Number 6, do not miss resets. This should be pretty obvious, but if you can only make 3 resets a day during this Ancient event, chances are you may get very little out of this event. I'm warning you in advance so that you don't get your hopes up and walk away with close to nothing of value from the board. The board dragon itself will be very difficult to get, if not impossible without relying on RNG pieces drops if you only log in for 3 resets a day. Plus, only doing 3 dungeon runs a day means that you may have to rely on gems to do some extra runs to guarantee Neil, but that depends on how good your dungeon team is. Number 7, do not go for Ik'ez in the altar if you want Neil and you can't guarantee that you'll get enough talismans for 3 ancients. They've put Ik'ez in the altar early on in this event, but most players that go for this dragon will end up missing out on the major reward Dragon Neil. Ik'ez can be useful for fire tasks in the dungeon and for clearing with energy, but Neil is a divine ancient. So you really need to think about which one is more important to you before you start spending your talismans. Number 8. Assume that your chest opening RNG will be bad. If you go into this event thinking that you're going to get tons of times 50 talisman drops and lots of big dragon piece drops, you're probably going to be very disappointed. Remember, the average drop of talismans, assuming that there's no changes for this event, is about 3. A good way to keep track of your talisman drop rate is to leave all of your bonus chests unclaimed so that you can see how many chests you've actually opened and how many talismans you got as a result. If you go in, assuming that your drop rate will be below 3, this will prepare you in advance and cause you to plan your gem usage and all the other stuff relating to the event more safely. If you're planning on using 200 gems this event, and then you get an average drop rate and find out that you'll actually have to use 600 gems, is not a good feeling. And a lot of players end up failing during these events simply because they didn't prepare for them properly. Number 9. Do not use your talismans until you have enough to afford a full dragon. Please, do not spend your talismans the very second that you get them on an altar dragon. I have seen so many newer players do this, and then in the middle of the event, they change their mind as to which ancient they want, and suddenly they realize they've wasted hundreds of talismans. It is much, much safer to just wait until you've collected 100% of the talismans necessary to unlock a full dragon. That way you can avoid any accidents. Number 10. Don't assume you failed if you only get one ancient. All that you need for a good team in the current meta is one good ancient. Sure, divine ancients have the best stats. If you can't manage to get Neil, for example, then going for either the fire ancient or the fishy water ancient will at least give you the ancient that you need to start building a good team. You'll need 2 divines on top of that, but getting at least one ancient that you wanted will be enough to get a good team started. So make sure you're prepared and willing to do what you need to in order to get one. Well, those are my general preparatory tips for this event. If you do want any direct dungeon team advice for your team before the event begins, feel free to head over to my Discord server where we allow players to set up a forum thread, post a screenshot of their dragons, and then they can get advice from various other players in the community. Doing this is the easiest way for someone to see all of your available dragons, the sigils that you're using, and generally get an idea of how experienced you are in the game. There are plenty of players willing to help anyone that needs it, so pop on by if you want any more help or tips for this event.